And we're back. Different shirt, same guy every day. I don't know if this one was the right choice. We'll see. MIT. I didn't go to MIT. I'm not smart enough, but MIT Cats, left-handed pitcher that I worked with in 24 when I was in Tri-City, gave me the shirt. Great kid. Started a program. Started a little business. Taking care of your body. It was really actually impressive. Adam Katz, left-handed pitcher. ADAMKATZ10 on Instagram. Adam at Data Driven. Adam.Data Driven is his page. He's got 40,000 followers on here. Adam, if you're watching, thanks for the shirt. I rock it once in a while and I need to wear gray and black. And today was one of those days. It's 4:20. Do you know where your Frenchie is? I do. He's not here yet. He didn't show up. He's actually here. I don't know if you can see him, but he just has the life. Let me see if I can get this guy in this picture. He has his own office chair. I don't know if you can see. This dude has his own office chair, his own Orioles towel. Look at him, leg hanging off the side, just chilling. We'll see if he pops up on the couch a little bit later with us. But Michael Keaton, yours truly, always getting after it with us. Cats, thanks for the stuff. If you're new, subscribe, like, follow, pass it along to your people. For sure, we're not, just by the views alone. I know that all the guys don't care. That's fine, because just remember that eventually you're going to have to go back and watch all of these to get the information, because I'm not going to repeat myself. Even though we are kind of repeating ourselves here in some of the episodes, I'm not going to be able to repeat myself going forward soon. That's the reason for doing it like this. But we got some topics. We got some signings. I wanted to cover some Frontier League stuff that I saw on their page. I wanted to talk about some stuff that we have going on, some roster stuff, some big roster stuff. Actually, it's pretty cool. And just keep updating you guys. Some of the conversations I had today brought some things to mind, and some things that I think could help really educate some players, especially if you're a new guy. If you're a new guy, and even if I guess you're a returning guy, and you're seeing day after day, this guy signed who has 3 years experience, and then this guy signed who has 3 years experience. It's like, well, how do I get 3 years experience? I mean, stick around for a while. And that's pretty much why why we're going the route we're going with the incentive league, so guys can invest in their futures and actually, make it something for themselves instead of have to pay out every season. Maybe you guys could be putting a few bucks in your pocket. But Cats, thanks for the shirt, guys. Go give him a follow. He's got some real good stuff on there. All right, and let's get into it with some of the player announcements and some of those type of things. I was outside today doing golf cart stuff. I wasn't tricking myself to get outside. I was actually outside. It was awesome. And just texting some guys along the way. And one of the topics was, I played in the IBL last year. Do I have a better chance of signing with you? And then also a Pecos League guy, new guy, random guy, hitting me up. And all these guys do this. All you young guys, new guys do this. Hit someone up like, hey, here's my numbers. Here's my information. And then be like, and then I'm like, oh, are you going to come to Florida and play with us? And they're like, well, can you tell me more about that opportunity? That's how you wound up in the Pecos League in the first place, is just by not really caring where you're going to go and what you're going to do. But you need to start to really figure out who you're talking to and who you're dealing with. Again, we mentioned yesterday Pioneer League versus where some of these guys are signing. You might have to go to a men's league and play first till the phone rings for the right situation. But if you get into the wrong situation, you're pretty much always going to be in the wrong situation. I know guys are going to have it's a different generation. Guys aren't looking for the best job. They're just looking for whatever job. When we were coming up, my generation of guys, it mattered who you played for and who you attached your name to, because it was going to dictate what was going to happen to you going forward. So it really does matter so much, and you guys don't even really realize it. It's for the guys that don't know, who are just sending this information out blindly, and people are just inviting you to things, and you think you're like someone or something, and you think you're, because you got invited somewhere to some tryout, that it makes you something. But really, like, I've got names here that I'm going to say today that you've never heard of that, I know for sure deserve and could play at those levels. But, just some advice on that, guys, do your research as to what you're getting into and where you're going. And with all these things, and find out the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything. Because ifs you decide to do it, you like that? Ifs you decide to do it, it is a commitment one way or the other, no matter what you choose. But ideas for today. The guy said, should I play in the IBL? I mean, we had Joe Jaco sign in Winnipeg last year because they said, we need a guy to drive here and pitch. And he did it. And he was with us. And if I had a Canadian, I probably would have sent him, to Winnipeg, obviously. Now Jaco's gotten that opportunity. That bird has flown. So it opens up the door maybe for this new guy, this new Canadian, or some other Canadians. I can't promise, being in the IBL this year, looks like they're going to have more imports. For you guys that don't know, the IBL is the Canadian league that is now becoming I think they're spending most of their money on these import guys. I think now they changed it. They're getting more imports. Not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but they don't want to just have a few. I think they're trying to compete more as like a paid professional league where they pay every player. But regardless, I mean, it's right place, right time. I've got guys working out for guys during the summer just because we're in certain locations and we happen to know the schedules. So really right place, right time is so crucial in the summer and the spring, for you guys. Playing in the IBL, sure. What I always say is this. How many guys did they announce that they signed to partner leagues last year? How many Canadian teams? How many American teams? How many guys are they sending over the border to go pitch for people? They're probably not sending Americans out back to the States to sign with teams. I don't really know, maybe. And the same with the Pecos guys, the P-Funk guys. Dudes hit me up and they have no idea. I mentioned it yesterday that we've signed over 200 Pecos League players, promoted 200 Pecos League players. But more importantly than that, I've saved thousands from going there. Remember, I'm a guy that went there. I'm a guy that played there. I'm a guy that got out of there. I was there for 1 month, got an opportunity to go to the American Association, and I took it. And, you scroll back. I just look at these names in here. I don't know all of them. I'm just on 24s. I see Hunter Treese. That's one guy right there. Pecos League guy signed with the Railcats in 24. Keep on going down. Let's see. A lot of guys that I've saved, that's for sure. A lot of guys that have been to the Texas camp. But, you're not going to see as many in 24 as you will in the past, when you really get into 23, 22, 21. The longer we've had less of a relationship with them, the better that it's been. But let's go before 2020. Let's go 2019. I mean, look at this list in 2019. I mean, these are how many dudes we got to the league and out of the league. I mean, just click on the names, boys, and see how these guys got promoted. There are some really good ones, dudes that moved up from some lower level leagues and got an opportunity. I don't even know if Tommy Anderson was a Pecos League guy, but Rodney Tenney, there's so many dudes in here. Sean Watkins, Daniel Williams. I mean, just it goes on and on and on. Guys used to bounce back and forth. And the only way to really get out was to get with credible people. Joe Lytle. Wow. Not a Pecos League guy, but that's a Bananas guy. We've also had a lot of guys go to the Bananas. We get the most guys probably to go to the highest levels. I mean, Bananas and coaches. I mean, if you're a coach and you want to get to the highest level and you don't come with us, you're going to end up catching bullpens. Bullpen catchers, too. We can get those guys done. Justin Cortesis to the Can-Am League. That is a really good one. Where's Randy Reith when you need him? Reith supposed to be calling in and put in your 2 cents. You're like an encyclopedia. The kids are missing out on the information without Randy getting on here once in a while. Ooh, Down Under Travelers are announcing a little game day action. It looks like, see our guys there. You got Sickett. You got Bracey with the yellow work gloves. You got my boy. You got some guys out here. This is interesting. You got, wow, Gideon. That team's going to be good. So ideas I have. I'm thinking about announcing the game tonight at Melbourne. I'm thinking about staying up announcing, so you guys don't have to watch Andrew Henderson. You can watch me, and I'll watch Andrew Henderson. Only I won't have to listen to Andrew Henderson. You could turn him down. Him and his co-pilot. You could turn them down. And it can, you can just listen to me. I'm thinking about doing it. I don't know if I could stay up that late, but I'm thinking about doing it for a little bit. I was also thinking about maybe calling some playoff football. I don't know if that's, it'd be like the funny voiceover version. But it'd be a way for us to hang out. I'm sure you guys are going to watch playoff football and maybe these Melbourne games. I doubt you'll watch them at 3, 4 in the morning, or whatever time that it is. But, you could watch it the next day, I guess, if I post it. So that's definitely an idea that I'm trying. Anyway, on to roster stuff. Let me get after this roster stuff. So you see how decisions, guy makes a decision to go to the IBL or here or there, like we talk about with Jaco and maybe this other player that's going to be happening. We'll shift some things in an organization or with a team that you guys are with. And I mean, the decisions that guys make. I mean, if that player from Canada comes to us and pitches in the United States, he's going to be one of the first guys that don't have to try to sign because he's going to have to get over the border with the team, and he's going to have to get with the Canadian team when the door opens. And that's exactly what I do. That's what my expertise is following throughout the season, the course of the season, and see who's playing where, why, and when, and linking people up and putting things together. But short list here, just a couple of things for the summer. I know we announced some summer guys yesterday. We're going to announce Josh Kellogg today. He's going to play for the New Jersey Sox this summer. Kellogg was a holdover from last summer. He was locked in with us, but ended up going to the Empire, playing there for the summer. Came down in the fall and did some fall ball stuff with us. Kellogg hit a bomb against York, which has him on the York roster for the tour right now, currently for us. If he holds that spot or not, I guess we'll see, how things shape out. But if you guys go to blacksoxprobaseball.com, you click on the 2026 now Florida roster. And yesterday, remember I said, I got to change it to 26. The American Association, some of these leagues have the same thing. It says 25. So I guess we're all on the same page. But if you go to those actual rosters, you can see the first things you'll see is the Winter Incentive League. Obviously, winter is before spring. You scroll down, you'll see Spring Incentive Leagues, and you'll see the first name on there is Zach Tollerman. We'll get to that transaction in a minute. And then you'll scroll down, and you'll see York, Lexington, Washington, and Gary are 4 spring training games right now. The names added to that after Kellogg was added to my brother's summer team up in New Jersey. We're also Victor Castillo, left-handed hitting outfielder for the Gateway Grizzlies, who I coached against when he was with Brockton in the Frontier League in 24. And then Evan Alexander spent 5 years with the Yankees and recently was with Lexington and a couple of clubs in the Atlantic League. Was actually in our outfield in Melbourne for the Killer Bees. So outfielders Evan Alexander and Victor Castillo probably round out my roster, my outfield roster for the York Revolution with Jared Bujdos, depending how he does with the shoulder, and Alexio Delgado. That's probably all that I'm going to need against York, 2 lefties, 2 righties. And then so you guys can see how these moves actually affect what's going on. And then let's get back to that Zach Tollerman transaction there. Zach Tollerman's a guy that's going to spring training in the Pioneer League in the middle or early May. So his name is already locked into DX as an incoming player for the spring team, because as a signed player, when you guys are signed, you go right to the DX team, which is broken up as Billy Gunn, Badass. I don't know if you guys know, all our teams are wrestling named after wrestling tag teams and wrestlers. So DX is D-Generation X, and instead of X-Pac and Triple H, we'll call it Road Dogg and Badass, and then we'll break into the different divisions if we get enough players, more players than we need for those teams. Right now, we're doing 3 in the fall, 6 in the spring. That's how many teams we're doing. So it's important that you guys, and that's why it's funny as I look at the views on this and I look at how many people are watching and how many people are commenting and how many people are locking in, I realize that most of you guys are going to be screwed. You're going to be screwed because we're going to have to eliminate the spots. We're going to have capacity, and I'm going to have to stick to it, doing it this way, because it ain't up to me anymore, boys. There's a different boss in town. Anyway, so you got Zach Tollerman on there. What Tollerman did was he originally was going to go to the California Winter League and the tour, and he switched it up and is now just doing Florida to get the most reps and be a guy that is featured down here to get his work before he goes to spring training with in the Pioneer League. So Tollerman actually relinquishes his spot, which he was down on that roster. I don't know if you guys are actually paying attention. He was actually down on that roster for York, and he is not anymore, which is good for the likes of Jensen and Brown and Vidiello, Radigan, Goffstein, those guys who are going to duke it out. I also recently put Fowler's on there as the second catcher with Warren Bailey in that lineup, because we're going to go offense in York. I think it was like 21-15, so we're going to play the over, and we're going to go for guys that can swing it. We'd really like to find the opposite pitching of what we had last year. We gave up 21 runs. We still scored 15, but we were banging shit off the wall. And since Kellogg is one of those guys that did it, he'll be on there. But also, Jensen obviously clearly proved his worth, and we'll see what other what other games might be added, along the way that might send a guy one way or the other. But to look at a realistic tour roster right here, Tevin Brown and Vitiello going to duke it out. Radigan, I kind of want that other left-handed bat in there. I only have 2 lefties in the outfield, but then again, the short porch is in left field at York, and we did most of our damage off of that wall, which is why Ethan Goffstein is in there. Fowler's is in there. Fowler's a guy that I've heard has hit 4 home runs in one game one time. So, clearly going for the offense in this one, but things are going to move. Let's say Tim Hannibal wants to play. Tim Hannibal's got that Atlantic League experience. We really want to get him signed. Is Hannibal the guy over, a Brown or a Vitiello or one of them, and what makes us make those decisions along the way? I hope guys realize that, like, every day, those are the decisions and the questions I got to ask myself, especially as we get closer. So what you could do is you could make it easier for me to make those decisions by locking in and making my life easier, because the harder that it is, like I said, I'm just going to put the announcements here, and then however it rolls, it rolls. So just those roster updates there, Tallerman, Castillo, Alexander, Kellogg, 4 guys that we're adding to the tour, and Summer, and hopefully more. Well, hopefully we'll be locking some guys in for some more things in the near future here upcoming, guys. You really got to start to get with it, because I promise you it's not going to last. You're going to look up one day and there's going to be 10, 15 names on there, and there's going to be no spots, and that's just going to be what it is. We are limited because of the field availability in Florida to 3 teams and then 6 teams in the FIL. The FIL, again, as a reminder, earn the money towards your next season. This dude is rocking. He is, earn your money towards the next season in the FIL. Housing, we talked about housing yesterday in the FIL. We're moving it up from 1,000 to 1,200. Unless I already made you guys an offer, man, you have to get that in. I have to get the housing in the next couple of weeks. It's not going to get any cheaper. Definitely in housing, you guys can move up on the depth chart by paying in full, paying earlier, paying more, pay for your own room. You want your own place? Pay for your own place. I don't care. I'll give it to you, but you got to pay. And then the less and the later and the harder it is, it's going to be moving around. It's going to be tough. Right now, I've got so much shit in my garage from a couple of guys that don't know how to travel. Lighter than that, boys. Lighter, for sure. My place is not the holding ground anymore. Please get this shit out of here. That is here. But, you can move up. And if you're a good guy and you've been around and you're locked in for the spring and you're locked in for the summer and you've been around, when it comes time to get the next house and move from 15 people to 20 people and split it up and move on and graduate to nicer and nicer and nicer and better housing, you will be the guy to move. If you are not the guy, then ask, or, that's why you won't be moving, because you drag. And that really is what it is, boys. It's funny, me and Brill talk about it all the time. And if you guys decide to do this going forward, it is way more about building a career. It's not about chasing a dream, boys. No one, I'm sorry to break your hearts, but the window has closed. A lot of guys say, well, my window's closing. The window's closed, boys. Remember that. So wanted to go after a couple of Frontier League today. Just check out the Frontier League. I'm not sure if you guys have been looking. I looked at the American Association. They weren't really updated until the other day. I looked through late December. So you guys, if you want to follow along, a couple pages to always have open when you're rocking with us. BlackSoxProBaseball.com, Baseball Reference, the Frontier League, American Association, Atlantic League, Pioneer League website pages. Have those open if you want to follow along ever. But right now I'm on the American Association website. You click on news, you go to transactions. It says 2025 transactions, but it's 2026. So I'm not the only one in that situation. Something that jumps out, December 15th. I always look at the key dates in my life, but Ryan Richardson re-signs with Sioux Falls. I know Ryan Richardson for a very long time, back in the Pacific Association days. Also a couple slots above that. Not sure if you guys see that Elijah Dunham, who was signed on October 14th by the Cleburne Railroaders, has signed with the LA Angels. So outfield spot seems to open up. Things move around up in Cleburne, where you just saw another guy, Brantley Bell, that we know, sign over there. You see December 11th, Lake Country re-signed Kelvin Pilot. Kelvin Pilot's a guy that I know for a long time. Quinn Waterhouse, who pitched with us against as Cleburne actually this spring, signed December 10th with Winnipeg. Just scrolling down for some familiar names, and through December, not much really happened at the end of the season. Mark Simon, a name that you've seen passed around between the Pioneer League and American Association several times, between Fargo and some guys. Simon wound up in Fargo from Ottawa for cash. So Bobby Brown getting some cash from a guy that he used to work with up in Fargo. Some other names look familiar, but nothing stands out too much. Zuber resigns. Zuber the third resigns November 18th. Let's go back up, though, towards January, see what some of the signings were as we go. Kenny Pearson, left-handed pitcher from Lake Erie, was acquired by Milwaukee. So Kenny Pearson getting out of the Frontier League, winding up in Milwaukee. I think he's from Ohio, in that area, if I remember correctly. Yeah, then Milwaukee signed him on the 2nd the next day. A couple good ones come. Brantley Bell, January 5th, signed with Cleburne. Scout Knotts, baby. January 6th, signs with Gary. I don't think I saw the Matt Reach transaction go through yet. I'm not sure. And then today, the 8th, Logan Nissen signed with Kane County, and Noah Marcello, outfielder, signed with Winnipeg. But those are the AA transactions. I think they're few and far between, and I think they're keeping some to themselves. But in the Frontier League, they are not. Not sure if you guys saw on December 15th all of the contract options that were put out for the players. The last real transaction in December, I think, was December 13th or 14th. Some guys were getting signed before those options were handled, taken care of. So now if you're following along, we are on the Frontier League page, frontierleague.com, and we are looking under their transactions, and you can see all the guys that people exercised options are, which is interesting because I'm looking at some of these options, and I noticed that some of the guys signed with some other teams along the way. And that some players have been traded since these. December 16th was the day after the options. Jalen Long signed with the Boulders. I think he was with New Jersey last year. That's Long's son, right? The big leaguer's son, Long, right-handed pitcher, I'm pretty sure. Quebec signed Gilberto Chu, left-handed pitcher. Sounds Japanese. Sounds about right for the Quebec Capitales. Going to sign all Japanese, Australian, and Canadian players if they're smart. Gateway, Gabe Holt and Keegan Collette retired. So I guess 2 open spots there in Gateway. Actually just shot their manager a text today. December 17th, Scott Seeker signed with Brockton. A couple other guys signed with Evansville. Evansville making a lot of moves lately. Alfredo Gonzalez signs with Lake Erie. That's their catcher. Cole Caruso signs to play third base at New Jersey. That's Bobby Jones making the new moves over there in New Jersey now going forward. Schaumburg lost in the finals, signs Miles Beal and Bren Spillane. Names are getting wild in the Frontier League. Lake Erie re-signs Xavier Cruz. Florence goes and gets Zach Beadle, catcher, and Garrett Broussard. And then Evan Giordano re-signs with the Brockton Rocks. December 19th, Evansville Otters grab Marcos Gonzalez. Gateway grabs Cade Parker. Lake Erie, that's when they traded Kenny Pearson to Milwaukee. Schaumburg traded Nick Pachorek to Lexington, actually. So Lexington's got this righty from Schaumburg that we'll probably see in spring training that day in front of fans. Take notes, boys. Windy City signed Michael Gould. December 21st, it was Jeffrey Colon going to the Eagles. That's right after we played those guys at the camp over in Fort Myers. December 22nd, right before Christmas, you get Lake Erie signs Luis Acevedo. Now, if you look back in New Jersey's transactions, exercised the option for Luis Acevedo, New Jersey did. And then Lake Erie signed him. Randy Flores and Gustavo Sosa signed with the Jackals. Sounds like Bobby Jones. Rockland Boulder signed Santino Rosso, utility guy. Probably he's going to be the Italian guy on the team this year. Ottawa signed Daniel McElveny. December 23rd, Florence grabs a couple of guys. Ryan Ford signs with Washington, utility guy from New Jersey the year before. I believe Ryan Ford is buddies with AJ Arico. He's down here in Florida working out. December 24th, day before Christmas, Elias Stevens got the call that he was traded to Tri-City to complete an earlier trade. Right before Christmas, he got the call, and they said, hey, you're going to play for Greg Taggart. And Tri-City traded Josue Urdaneta, who I coached briefly in 24, to the Windy City Thunderbolts for the first-round pick in the 2026 Frontier League Draft. Greg Taggart loves the first-round pick in the 2026 Frontier League Draft. And I'll tell you, he loves the first pick in any draft. And in 24, when we were in Washington, the damage we did in that draft was unbelievable. Ethan Klein, you owe your career to Cole Bombalis. Told Greg Taggart to sign you, or maybe it was Tom Thornton. But that's how he got signed. Roberto that year. I think we had about 8 guys drafted that year. Several times I've had the number 1 pick. One of them, Nick Horvath, pretty sure was the number 1 pick one year. Got signed to affiliated ball off of Quebec out of that. Signed Ryan Roel and Soto one year. I've had some pretty good Frontier League draft signings. Anyway, back to the transactions after Christmas, the 27th, the Mud Monsters get busy. They sign a couple guys. Tri-City trades the catcher, Stevens, that they just got. Hey, we know we just got you, but we traded you and the first-round pick from down east. We don't even want that pick anymore, to the New Jersey Jackals to complete an earlier trade. And Bobby Jones now has the number 1 pick in the Frontier League draft this year. I don't even know where it is. We need to look that up. Let's see if we can make that number 1 pick, Max Marlavelle. That would be the 8th or 10th time Max Marlavelle gets signed out of a tryout draft. 28th, Mud Monsters sign a guy. 29th. You know what you notice about the Frontier League is they sign a lot of their players early. A couple things about young guys. They don't know how to be free agents, and they jump on whatever job. And also, the more experienced players are playing winter ball and finishing up what they're actually doing. So they're going to hold out and sign later. If it was me, I'd sign my team right before the season. But what do I know? Florence grabs a guy, and then your boy on the 30th, Anthony Briccato, tremendous player, signs with the Washington Wild Things. Briefly, let's check out some of these guys. I want to see little comparison here. We mentioned Victor Castillo earlier. Castillo, in his couple of seasons in the Frontier, see what he's done. I think last year he had a pretty good year. We're going to compare some guys. Castillo, 11 homers last year, 65 RBIs, 58 walks, 53 strikeouts, a 405 OBP, and hit 298 in Gateway after hitting 318 in Gateway the year before. I think they have his stats screwed up because his season is not on here. The first half of his Brockton season is not on the stats for some reason, unless I'm crazy, which I could be. Am I crazy? Yep. Yeah, that kid played in Brockton first. Now his stats aren't on here. That's interesting. But that's Castillo, the guy that we just grabbed. And let's check out Anthony Briccato. Anthony Brocado played with Florence, played with Cleburne. Tremendous player, banging stuff all over the place in Washington, PA, looking for a championship in Cleburne last year. He finished the season with Florence, hit 17 in Florence, 29 in Southern Maryland the year before, 28 in Washington, 28 homers in Washington in 23, 24 and 22. I met him after Southern Illinois in 2019 or 2021 after he hit 17 homers. He was offered by every team in America, and we were trying to get him to hold out, and he ended up getting convinced by Tony Basile, the gangster. Tony got it done. He grabbed Briccato, played 2 seasons in Washington where he hit 42 homers. Then in Southern Maryland, he gets up to 71 homers. And then 2 teams last year, 18 homers. The guy has 89 home runs, plus 2 in Southern Illinois. In 19 is 91 home runs. He's 9 home runs away from 100 in his professional baseball career. That's pretty impressive right there for sure. Bricado, a tremendous player. Hit 276 last year. That was his highest average since Washington, where he hit 282 in 23. Hit 300 in Washington the year before. So that season in the Atlantic League where he got 100 more at-bats than he had anywhere else. Still had the same amount of hits as he had in those other seasons. Still yet to break 100 hits in a season. I bet he does it this year. But look at the doubles output. 19, 19, 19, 15, 15. Guy can hit. No triples the last couple of years. I agree with that, Bricado. Take it easy on those legs. But Bricado back in Washington, that's definitely going to make them a contender, a player for real. Schaumburg grabs a couple guys. You look at January 1st, now the new year turns over. We're scrolling up from the bottom on the Frontier League transactions if you guys are following along. And here's an interesting one. Evansville Otters, January 6th, signed DeAndre Gaines. For those of you guys that remember, DeAndre Gaines played with us against Ohlone College in Northern California against Chris Fornacci's team recently when Sip Garza and I had gone out there. So Gaines will be in the outfield with Evansville in the spring training. Maybe we'll play Evansville and get a chance to see him out there. Gaines, a speedy left-handed bat, joins Andy McCauley, who I posted on Instagram yesterday. He was a pretty good dude in the game because he is. Looking through some other things. Some of these names don't really stand out, but Julian Boyd re-signs with Rockland. Julian Boyd, hell of a player, left-handed hitting outfielder. I was trying to get him a couple of years ago, and I had an opportunity to be in Joliet. He's going to be in Rockland, put up numbers for sure this year. I saw another guy that we were talking to about possibly going to Melbourne, Isaac Bellany, signed with either Rockland or New Jersey, somewhere in there. Cole Brandon back in Gateway. And then January 7th, no transactions for the 8th, but January 7th, there's a few. I don't know any of the guys. Evansville, Florence, Lake Erie, New Jersey, and Southern Illinois. What I like to do for guys is show them, if I copy and paste Gilberto Jimenez, and let's see where this guy played that New Jersey just signed, because there's all these guys just looking for a spot in the spring, Pecos League guys who are just looking for a spot in the spring. I'm just looking. Well, Boston Red Sox picture pops up. July 8th is a 25-year-old Dominican, played with the Boston Red Sox in 2018. So this guy's got some experience. Played in High Point in 24 in the Atlantic League. Hit 278 and 185 at-bats. And then was in Nicaragua in the Winter League in 24-25. 342. Bunch of bags. This guy can play. And he looks to be Bobby Jones, center field, right field, left field. This guy's going to be in the outfield for the New Jersey Jackals. Got about 6 years affiliated and professional experience. And that's what I tell guys is go in there and copy these names. Let's look at Blake Donnan from the Florence Yalls. Now, Florence more likely to sign not that guy because they're not Bobby Jones, but let's just see. Illinois boy, 24 years old, Taylor Jones, relief pitcher. Blake Donnan. Relief pitcher, 6'6", 235. That is who Florence signs. They usually sign some big trees out of college, and that's what this kid is, a gigantic tree. Pitching-wise, 23 innings, 26 strikeouts. He's going to walk some guys. He's going to punch some guys out. This kid looks big and mean. Has never been a winner in his career at St. Edward, Springfield, Bellarmine, or Frederick, but he does have 100 innings. Keeps the ball in the yard for the most part. You just look up the numbers. We'll see what the Frontier League's going to be for him. Maybe it's just a spring training invite, but you guys got to really, 6'7", 300 pounds, whatever it is. You got to really start looking up who these guys are and say, why am I not getting a job? I can't understand why I'm not getting a job. Well, look up the players who are getting jobs and see where they come from, and then say, if I was a manager, who would I sign, the Red Sox guy or me? Be realistic. Casey Sorg, outfielder, 23 years old, from Indiana, signs with Evansville. Well, that makes sense. And he's got some time in Billings, 25 for 82 with 14 RBIs to hit 305 in 25 after coming out of a couple of colleges I never heard of. Pitched a little bit too. Looks like he tried to pitch a little bit too, but that's a guy that just got signed in the Frontier League. Look him up. 6'5", 230. Same. And you guys got to really start looking. How come I can't get a job? Windy City signs a guy that sounds like he's a local Polish mobster. Let's check it out. Joe Stagowski, but I bet he's not. I bet he played for the White Sox or something. Name doesn't even come up. Baseball Reference, Stigowski. Maybe they spelled it wrong. Not really sure. Let's take Joe out of there and just put Stigowski. Stigowski, 22 years old, out of Rockford, Illinois. He's right up in that area. And he did. He played in Rocky Mountain, went 5 for 20 in Rocky Mountain, and hit 250 coming out of a bunch of colleges in Illinois. Again, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Big boys. So you're going to sign the biggest, most durable players that you've heard of, that you know, and it's not going to be you. Let's see who Jackson Cobb is. That'll be the last one we look up, a Mississippi Mud Monster shortstop that they recently signed. And that's what I do, man. I just sit here and I copy and paste, and I look these guys up and I see what these managers like and who they're signing and why. Jackson Cobb, 22 years old, out of Texarkana, 23 years old, actually, out of Texarkana, Texas. Some good college summer numbers. Must have been referred over to our guy in Mississippi. We know what kind of players he likes. We came up through sort of the same Indy ball connection, but this kid hit 381 in 2025 for Georgia Gwinnett. 11 doubles, 5 triples, 2 homers, 50 RBIs in 59 games. An impressive kid with 27 bags, had 29 bags in 24. This is a Jay Petchy type of player, and he is on a Jay Petchy team. And that's what you guys really got to start understanding is, how do I get in with Jay Petchy? Well, you better be better than this guy, Joseph Stigowski, who seems like a nobody. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I misspoke, boys. Don't be mad at me. Oh, no. Yeah. Sorry about that. That's Jackson Cobb. And Jackson Cobb is with Mississippi. Stigowski is with Windy City. If you're following along, and you should be following along, you should be going through this, clicking pause. Let me find my golf clubs. All right. But that's the Frontier League transactions. It's amazing. Out of all of them, none of our guys. And it's okay. Because maybe they're not looking for you, boys. And that's one thing that we got to start to figure out. How do we get ahead of this enough to be Scout Knotts, to be Matt Reitz, to be these guys that we're announcing signed, in their 3rd, 4th, 5th professional season? How do you even make it to a 3rd season in a row of Black Sox baseball? Can you even get to the 3rd season in a row of Black Sox baseball? But hit some more transactions later in the week. We'll look at some Atlantic League stuff. We'll look at some Pioneer League stuff. I haven't really seen too much stuff on them. If you guys got any ideas, comments, questions, feel free to drop them, ask them. Some of the things I was thinking, again, quiz show. Maybe we do a quiz show where we bring a couple guys on. We do a cash prize right here. Hey, what do you know? Not enough time to look it up. Just answer on the spot. I'd like to see like Colin Jensen against like anybody. Also, maybe I'll call this game tonight. Australia, Melbourne. You got Sickett. It looks like a bunch of our guys that were already out there playing. Jameson Hill. See what those guys do. We could call that game. And then maybe the NFL weekend. Maybe we call some of that game. We spend some time together doing that. But tomorrow it'll be a different shirt. It'll be the same guy. It'll be 420 on a what day? Friday? Sure. I don't know if I'll be able to hit the 420s on the weekend. I'm going to have to look ahead. We know we have a playoff game. That playoff game, 9:30 on Sunday morning. That's 2 times the payout for the FIL. That'll be good. See how bad we can smash that team. And that's what we're saying that we want to do. And that's what we're going to go out and try to accomplish. And again, for you guys that are dragging with the FIL and the housing and all that, man, it's going to move on. It's going to move past you. And we're already at 1,200 for housing instead of 1,000 for guys that didn't lock it in early enough. And, it's going to be a missed out. You're going to miss out on some things if you don't get your shit together. So get your shit together. And if you need me, let me know. Although trying to do everything here, it's the easiest way to communicate. Ask me and let me answer the group here. If I didn't sell you to come with us instead of go to the P-Funk Railroad based on this video, then you deserve to be there. Over and out.